Hello, this is the sound of the start of your weekend, or for Ali Maxwell's new baby daughter, the sound of the start of her life. Yes, Ali isn't here. I can confirm that Ali has had his first child. Him and his wife are doing well. The baby is doing well as well. And that is why it is me. It isn't Ali doing her intro. And for the next couple of weeks on Not the Top 20, Ali will be on pat leave and won't be joining me. So that's why he's not here, but I'm sure you can all join me in wishing him and his new family all the best. But this is the NTT20 betting show, sponsored by AK Bets. I'm your host, Georg Elek, and I'm delighted, as was the case when I went on pat leave just over 2 years ago, to be joined by Nick Goff to take, I guess, my place whilst I take Ali's place. How are you doing, Goffy?
Yeah, great, mate. Thanks for having me along. It's good to be in joyous circumstances. Congrats to Ali. Sent him a message this morning. He hasn't seen it yet. He's probably busy.
Yeah, Goffy, for those, obviously you've done a few shows with us in the past. You've stood in for me before. You've done our playoff previews and everything else. Also, TLS, the long shot, our endeavour over at NTT20.com. You are part of that, where we had a very profitable first season. For those who don't know about TLS, it's 20 quid a month, where we give an outright or a season-long tip, normally more than one, every week. And last year, or last season, that returned just under 100% ROI, and Goffy does one of those a month as well. But for those who aren't familiar with you, Goffy, can you give us a quick rundown as to who exactly you are?
Yeah, so I've been in the betting industry sort of 20 years now, man and boy. About 12 years as a bookmaker, and then the last 8 as a professional sports bettor. Predominantly football, but little bits of other sports as well, some horse racing, the EFL. And concentrate on the 4 main English leagues. So I don't really do anything outside of the UK. So I like to watch a bit of Champions League, but don't bet on it because I don't have any opinions on the other European teams. So yeah, just really the 4 main leagues. So 3 of the 4 that you cover, plus the Premier League.
Excellent stuff, yeah. And let's get into the selections this week. As ever, we're going to go through our next best goal scorer, long shot. And then because it's FA Cup second round weekend, we are going to be looking to repeat the trick. Last time in the first round, Ali and I put up over 4.5 double and an over 5.5 double. They both won with the over 5.5 double at 66 to 1. So we're going to be trying to get lightning to strike twice. But that is towards the end of the show. Starting with your nap, Goffy, what is your best bet this weekend in either the EFL or the FA Cup?
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Norwich City, who are at home to Luton on Saturday. And we can use a bit of sort of betting theory here. We can call a situational spot. And that means a team that you're willing to back on this particular game, on this day, at a certain price that perhaps you wouldn't in a normal, in most situations. And the reason for that is what's happened in the week. Norwich played at home on Tuesday against Plymouth. The easiest game you get all season is at home to Plymouth in the Championship. We have to say that. They just don't travel. They played it on the Tuesday, so they get the extra day's rest, and they played at home. While Luton had to go away on Wednesday to the best team in the league. They had 24% possession. They basically spent the evening chasing shadows at Elland Road, and then a long journey home after that. They're not back until the early hours of Thursday morning. Can they train properly on a Thursday after getting home at 2 o'clock Wednesday night? No, they can't. And then on Friday, they have to leave again for Norwich. So they can't really prepare for this game in anywhere near the depth that Rob Edwards would like to. While Norwich have played the day before, had a lovely day off Wednesday, are in training Thursday and Friday as per normal for a Saturday game. So the situational here is that this is a real big advantage for Norwich to be playing this game when they are. On top of that, we can look at Norwich and say they had a real slippery period after Josh Sargent got his injury, out for a few months. Whenever a team's best player goes down long term, it can lead to a bit of a crisis naturally. Loss of confidence. How are we going to cope without our talisman? Well, and that was that happened for a while. They were really bad at Sheffield Wednesday, home to Bristol City. They looked like they were in real decline, and the top 6 challenge maybe not for them this year. But since then, they've got back to the old Norwich a little bit. They more than held their own at the Hawthorns, drew 2-2 and played well. And they've destroyed Plymouth the other night, and the confidence is back, and they're looking a bit more like themselves again. Does that mean that Luton can't win this game? Absolutely not. Of course they can. It's a championship game of football between two teams of pretty similar standing. Luton definitely can and may win this game, but for me, it doesn't mean that. What it means is that Norwich's price doesn't yet factor in all of the above, and I think they should be slight odds on to win this game because of everything else that goes around it. Whereas they would usually be 6-5, 5-4 to win this game in a normal situation. I think you can factor in a good quarter of a goal difference for the situation. And that means for me, Norwich should be slight odds on, and their value at anything odds against for this game.
Yeah, Norwich 23-20 to beat Luton this weekend. That's top price with AK Bets, our sponsors. Goffy's Nap. My Nap is in League Two in one of two games taking place down in the basement of the EFL with teams who've been knocked out of the FA Cup already. I am putting up Fleetwood to beat Colchester at 21-20. My stance here, and the reason for doing this, is I think it's my belief that everyone is kind of quite far behind or not really waking up to the fact of how good Fleetwood Town are for a multitude of reasons. Firstly, I would say that their results this season haven't necessarily been as good as their performances. We can definitely outline a couple of individual results where that's been the case. There was the 2-2 draw against Salford a couple of weeks ago where they absolutely battered them. Should have been well clear before conceding about the 98th minute to not win that game when realistically they should have done so. Their only home defeat so far this season came against Crewe, where they were the better team for the most part, restricted Crewe to very little, only to concede a penalty with a couple of minutes to go and lose the game 1-0. That's their only home defeat so far over the campaign. They've also got a lot of catching up to do in terms of fixtures. This is one of their games in hand on the rest of League Two, and that means that whilst they're kind of in 13th place in the league table, actually, if you do it on PPG, they're currently sitting 8th. They're only just behind AFC Wimbledon. They're actually ahead of Chesterfield in terms of PPG. So, whilst they may have deserved more from their games so far this season, even if you were to account for that and you were to kind of rejig the table to reflect PPG rather than just the points tally, they would be further up within that. Charlie Adam, I think, has proven himself now over a long enough period of time to suggest that he's eminently capable of drilling this Fleetwood side to be a very good team. They haven't played a league game since the 9th of November, but that was an impressive 1-0 win at home to Bradford, who are a better opponent than what they come up against this coming weekend on Saturday. Colchester, another side who the numbers suggest probably haven't had the luck of haven't had their fair slice of luck so far this season. Their win against Grimsby on Saturday was their first away win of the season. It came from a late goal. Grimsby maybe shading it before then, but we've already seen them come unstuck against two of the better teams in the league. They went to Wimbledon early on in the campaign and were beaten 4-2. They went to Walsall and were beaten 4-0. And I just think that they're a side who, away from home, have struggled to basically get points on the board and really struggled from an attacking standpoint too. I think Fleetwood are unbelievably solid. I can't imagine they're going to give much away here. And even though, I messaged you yesterday to check whether or not the 33-1 about Fleetwood was value, and your response was not what you're seeing, and part of that is the closing prices don't really agree. But I'm kind of leaning on my own theory here that maybe it's the market itself that hasn't quite caught up with Fleetwood, and they are better. It wasn't long ago that even though it was a weakened Reading side, they were sent off 6-4 away against Reading in the FA Cup. So Fleetwood, a team that I'm expecting to bridge the gap from 13th to those above them with these games in hand, and they've got a pretty good opportunity to do so on Saturday, and happy to back them at odds against to do so. What is your next best heading to the FA Cup this time?
Yeah, I'm going to the FA Cup, and I'm going to go with Walsall, draw no bet, against Charlton. Walsall, who have already knocked almost as big get as big a League One scalp as you can get in knocking Bolton out in the first round, went fairly strong, played 8 out of 11 of their normal starting team in that game. Now, what makes things a little bit trickier in this second round is that Leagues 1 and 2 teams mostly have a midweek round next midweek. And those that have got their eyes on the league may rotate a little bit more. But the other side of that coin is everyone's one game away from being in the hat for the third round and trying to win that round 3 lottery that a few teams will win and get the away games against the top money spinning sides. So I'm cautiously optimistic that Walsall will go with a pretty strong team here. And these are the type of games that I always target in the Cup, when two teams meet from one division apart, because I do think that the public and the market in general can just struggle a little bit to benchmark where a good team in League Two would be in League One, or a bad team in League One would be in the Championship or League Two, etc. So I don't think that people quite appreciate just if Walsall were in League One now, I think they'd be solidly in the middle of the table. I think that there's 4 or 5 League Two teams that, if they got promoted, could be doing fine, just as Mansfield are doing, who got promoted last year as not sort of the 3rd or 4th best team. They've settled in and they're doing fine and likely to finish in mid-table. I think your Warsals, your Port Vales, your MK Dons, your Doncasters would all, one of them might come back down because things change, you lose your best players, etc. But on the standard they are right now, I think Walsall would be able to hold their own in League One. And if we're honest, all Nathan Jones and Charlton are doing in League One at the moment really is basically holding their own. They're capable on their day, but they're pretty inconsistent, and they're trying to find their identity, find some consistency. And maybe Nathan Jones, who hasn't been there as long as Matt Sadler's been at Walsall, it's just a year, 18 months behind the curve on what he wants to become at League One level. And Walsall have now done it. They found their identity. They know who they are. They're playing the way that hopefully, for them, will get them promoted, or at least in the top 7 at the end of the season. And if they were in League One now and at home to Charlton, I don't think there's much between them, and therefore they'd have to be favourites for the game. They proved it against Bolton, whereas Charlton went to Southend and needed the whole 120 minutes to see them off. And I think if Walsall are going to make changes here, Charlton might do too. So I think for Charlton, the top 6 is surely the aim. He's not able to get on that run and get them in there yet, but that's not to say they won't. But for me, Walsall should be a bit shorter than they are. So they'll be my MB at slight odds on Draw No Bet market.
17 to 20, again, AK Bet's best price in the market for your Draw No Bet price there. Walsall Draw No Bet at home to Charlton in the FA Cup. Back to the Championship for me, and my next best is with a heavy heart. I am putting up Millwall to beat Oxford at 6 to 5. Part of what the kind of betting theory stuff in your nap comes into play here, where we've got quite a strange situation where it looked like Oxford had a bit of an advantage going into this one, despite having an away trip on Tuesday night. Millwall played a Wednesday night, so Oxford would therefore have 24 hours extra to recuperate from that midweek exertion. However, things changed because Millwall went to Pompey last night and there was a power cut, and they warmed up on a pitch in the pitch dark for about an hour and then went home early. Obviously that's not ideal. It's not ideal for Millwall to have prepped for a game and then be sent home early. It's not ideal that they'd have gone all the way down there and only to be sent back again. They still would have got back fairly late last night, but they haven't played 100 odd minutes of football, and in terms of fatigue and what that brings into it, that's got to be an advantage for Millwall. And it hasn't, they've been backed a little bit off the back of last night, but not massively. And I think there's probably more within that to appeal, and it kind of appeals anyway. Oxford, obviously, a side that I support and a side that I know well, and there are big issues right now. The fixture list hasn't been kind, but when you consider they've played 3 of the best teams in the league in the last 5 games, against Sunderland away, beaten 2-0 without really laying a glove on Sunderland, beaten 6-2 at home to Borough in a game where Borough, despite them scoring 2 goals, Borough are obviously very dominant, and then go to Sheffield United in midweek and a kind of dispatch 3-0 with Jamie Cumming, the Oxford keeper, being man of the match. Millwall, I think by basically any measure right now, have to be accepted as being maybe not quite of the level of those 3 teams, but certainly one of the best teams in the one of the better teams in the league. Come here, the away record this season isn't as good as at home, but they were very unlucky not to beat Stoke. Probably will feel like they should have seen that game out, having gone 1-0 up. They're unbeaten dating back to the beginning of October. They concede very, very little by way of chances. Oxford still struggling to create much of note with so many wide players currently out injured. The return of Cameron Brannigan should instigate some kind of a turnaround of form. But with a midweek trip to Plymouth Argyle next week, that there's no way Oxford aren't going to put everything into this. But that seems a far better opportunity to pick up points than this game on Saturday. So kind of everything incorporated here with a Millwall side who are very much in form, an Oxford side who are on the slide a bit. Elliot Moore does come back for Oxford, but still loads of key personnel missing or kind of coming back to full fitness and out of form and having played in midweek too. So I still think, even though the price has shortened a little bit in the last 24 hours or so, the 6-5 about Millwall is plenty worthy getting involved in. Right, one of the times you were on the show, Goff, you put up Tom Lockyer to be anytime goal scorer, and he was the second most backed player with our sponsors at the time, behind Erling Haaland that weekend. So can you repeat the trick this time around, or maybe even go top? Because I doubt many people are going to be wanting to back Haaland on Sunday compared to him.
He had a free header from a corner and put it straight at the keeper as well, didn't he? Stop it. But these things happen. So, I'm going to try again with an anytime goal scorer and another centre-back. Matt Clark from Middlesbrough, who scored 2 in 3 games earlier in the season. Is 5 blank since. Did have a header from a corner midweek against Blackburn in the game that they messed up. And he just sort of mistimed that header, but got himself in the opportunity. Again, this is a great spot for a reason. And this reason's because of the opponent. One of the stats that I track among many is the XG allowed per set piece taken against you. So, and with Hull, that is the highest of any team in the league. So that means that per set piece taken, there's more chance of a goal or an opportunity coming against Hull than against any other team in the league on the current 14, whatever it is, games of data so far. Sacking the manager in midweek, I don't think will magically fix set pieces. So I do think Hull are a side that we're happy to oppose on set pieces at the moment. And in Asia, this match is in for a total goal line of 3.0. That's a quarter of a goal higher than any other game in that league this weekend. So there's more potential goals in this game, more bang for our buck goal-wise in this fixture than in any other. So from an anytime goal scorer perspective, we want to be betting anytime goal scorers in games that are going to have a lot of goals, because there are going to be more winners. So this is the game to target, this is the opponent to target, and this is a player who maybe has been forgotten a little bit, because he did score a couple earlier in the season, has missed a few chances since. But this is the time to be with him, I think. And also, maybe Hull are just going to feel the wrath of Borough a bit here after the duck egg they produced against Blackburn. They've been playing at the level of the second or third best team in the league for about the last 6 or 8 weeks, and they messed up against Blackburn. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see them bounce back here. And if they score 2, 3, 4 goals, you want to be on a set piece for one of them. So Matt Clark's a big price. Anytime for me.
Yeah, Matt Clark, 15-2, again, top price that with AK bets. The reason why Ali normally hosts this show is he doesn't do silly things like forget to talk about the sign-up offer for our sponsors, AK bets. So make sure, if you haven't got an account, you can use the promo code NTT100. There is a link in the show description, so make sure you click on that if you want to sign up. They're normally very accommodating in terms of ensuring that they are at least best price or one of the bigger prices in the market for all of our selections. If your first bet is an accumulator on football with a minimum of 4 selections, AK Bets will boost the profit gained on that initial bet by 25% in the form of a free bet up to the value of £100. Further T's and C's are accessible on the website. Click the link in the description to take advantage of the cracking sign-up offer from our sponsors, AK Bets. On to my goal scorer, and I'm putting up in the game I just mentioned, in that Oxford game against Millwall, Japhet Tanganga is 18-1 to score any time for Millwall, and that is a big price for a few reasons. Oxford's recent games, in terms of corners conceded, they conceded 7 last time out against Sheffield United, 9 prior to that against Borough, 11 at Watford, 6 against Hull, 8 against Swansea, 8 against Sunderland, 6 against Derby, 8 against West Brom, 11 against Pompey. I'm not leaving any games out there. That is consecutive matches in which Oxford have conceded at least 6 or more corners. And you've got a Millwall side who we know very well are very, very good with attacking set pieces and attacking corners. What's also interesting is that Millwall have only scored 2 goals from set pieces this season from an XG of 6, and Oxford have only conceded 1 goal from set pieces this season from an expected goals against of 6. So neither of those things are really sustainable. I think we're going to see Millwall score more from set pieces going forward. Oxford are due to concede from those 2. Normally this would be an homage to Ali Maxwell, and it would be Jake Cooper all the way. He is normally the target from these set pieces, whether it's him for first contact for a knockdown or a flick on, or for him to go directly a goal with 2 goals this season. However, Cooper is out injured for at least a couple of months, and he won't be playing here. And that, I think, offers a bit of an opportunity, because it means that there are players who maybe don't get as consistently targeted from set pieces, who will therefore be a bit of value, who now might be the first target. And I think in Tanganga you have that. He's very good in the air. He scored 3 goals for Millwall in the last couple of seasons. He is someone who gets a lot of shots off anyway from set piece situations. And if I'm right, and if Millwall do win this game, and in doing so have, say, 6, 7, 8, as we've already seen, possibly even double-figure corners, I find it hard to believe that Tanganga won't be a target from those and won't be valued to score from one of them at 18-1. So, again, difficult for me on this show today to 2 anti-Oxford bets. I can guarantee you that if Japhet Tanganga does score on Saturday, I will not be celebrating or cheering, but hopefully some people at home will be. Tanganga, my goal scorer pick, 18-1 with AK bets. On to our long shots now. And we're both going for correct scores, so this could be quite a fun one to double up. Goffy, what's yours?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Stevenage to beat Mansfield by 1-0. Now, Stevenage were almost on the draw no bet market my next best here, but I just plumped for Walsall over them. So obviously, sod's law, what happens now is Stevenage will win 6-1 or something, and Walsall will lose, and I've got it the wrong way around. But no, I think I've got this the right way around, because I think to start with, Stevenage should be favourites for this game. I'm surprised that at home to Mansfield, I don't think there's much between them as football teams at the moment, and I think Stevenage should be slight favourites with home advantage. Let's start with them though, in terms of scorelines. They haven't had a match in any competition in November that hasn't had a binary scoreline. 1s and 0s are all that appear in Stevenage scorelines for the whole month, and so they've got 1 game left, so they can complete a 5 out of 5 for the whole month in that binary fashion if they do it here. No one really needs to mention that Stevenage games can be low event, battles of attrition as the norm. That's just in their DNA, and we've known it for a few years since Steve Evans and before. The Asian goal line here is 2.25 for this game as it stands. There's not a single FA Cup game this weekend with a lower line than that. And the only other one with a 2.25 line is Cambridge against Wigan. So there's which is another sort of dour, gritty, all League One affair. So there's just 2 games that are seen as being very low scoring. This is one of them. I think there's sort of 2 sides that won't be going up or down this season. There's no way I don't think either of them can make the top 6. And they're both unlikely to be dragged into a relegation battle. So there's no reason not to go hammer and tongs at each other here and try and win that round 3 lottery that we talked about. So from the Stevenage perspective, everything sort of adds up for me. And then on to Mansfield. Well, they've actually lost their last 3 games consecutively, all 1-0. And Nigel Clough's been in the week talking about just needing the rub of the green, needing a bit of bounce, losing a little bit of confidence. And if you've just lost 3 games 1-0, I think the worst place you can possibly go is Stevenage, a team who sort of excel in trying to do exactly what's happened to them in the last 3. So at a big price, I think if Stevenage are going to win this game, which I make them slight favourites to do, 1-0 has to be the most likely way you do it. And there's probably a little bit of value in the 1-0 correct score, I hope.
Yeah, 7-1, again, top price with AK bets. And the 1-0 for me is in some Friday night football. Big game on Friday night between 2 teams having a decent tilt of promotion back to the Premier League. Sheffield United hosting Sunderland. Sunderland have drawn their last 5 games. 3 of those have been 0-0. A 2-2 draw against Coventry, where they took a 2-goal lead and conceded twice, and then a 1-1 draw against Millwall. Again, they scored early, or they went 1-0 up and then conceded very late in injury time to draw that game. They've had a lot of injuries and absentees. Wilson Isidore, their striker, the latest to suffer an injury. And when you're struggling for attacking threat, there are, I would say, 3 teams who are probably, you could argue, have a better defence than Sunderland in the Championship this season. There is Burnley, who have the best defensive record in terms of goal conceded of basically any Championship side at this point. You've got Leeds, who concede next to nothing, and then Sheffield United, who also are incredibly solid, especially at home. They, as I said, came up against Oxford and brushed them off fairly easily. 3-0 last time out. That was a good attacking display. They haven't necessarily been a team that have clicked for the most part from an attacking perspective, and that's reflected in their home results this season, where prior to that 3-0 win against Oxford, they'd won 4 games 1-0 and 2 games 2-0, and a 2-2 draw against QPR, the only game so far at Bramall Lane where they've conceded a goal. So this looks like, as is often the case when you have two teams where there's a lot at stake, two teams who are battling out to the top end of the table, it often transpires to be a relatively cagey affair because, basically which team blinks first. Maybe both teams will come away relatively happy not to lose ground on each other, which should drive the goal line down. And I think that with Blades the favourites to win this game at 11-2, I think there might be a bit of juice in that in terms of the 1-0 scoreline as well. 51-1 with AK Bets, the 1-0 double, if you think that we both made a good case for those games finishing 1-0. Before we get into our goal selections, Black Friday is tomorrow as we record, the 29th of November, and for the first time ever, we have NTT20. Goff, you look terrified. Don't worry, it's nothing to do with you. We have NTT20 merch launching on Friday the 29th. We have hoodies, we've got t-shirts, we've got jumpers, we've got mugs at some point, but probably not tomorrow. Loads of really top quality merch with our logo on it. People have been asking us for us to do this for a while. So those 2 or 3 of you that have done that might be happy and be able to get something either for yourself or maybe even a gift to someone for Christmas. We will be posting the link to the shop on Friday, so keep your eyes peeled for that on our social channels. We'll be sending out the link to all of our subscribers to NTT20.com as well. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. We'll be talking about it again on Monday when we've got the link ready. But just a warning to those who want to get involved, NTT20 merch will be dropping on Black Friday tomorrow, the 29th of November. So make sure you get your stuff there if you want some NTT20 clothing or mugs, basically. Right, enough about mugs, Goffy. Let's talk about this over 4.5 and over 5.5 double. Which game has caught your fancy as possibly being a goal fest?
Yeah, I thought if you're going to send me a mug, you might be telling me something. But right, yeah.
What if we sent you a bottle opener instead?
Do you know? As an aside, my corkscrew's gone missing. Can't find it. So if you've got an NTT corkscrew, tried to open a bottle of wine last night. Couldn't have one. I was on the orange squash instead.
Did you not do that thing where you put it in the shoe and then bang against the wall?
I didn't know about that.
It doesn't work. I've seen people try it. It does not work.
Right, lots of goals in the FA Cup. I almost, just to tease, I almost went for Accrington versus Swindon here with the Ian Holloway effect of goals at both ends seem to be something to follow at the moment. They drew 2-2 when they played in the league just a few weeks ago, and then they've shipped 3 since Swindon. So I almost went for the overs there, but that could be a little bit more. What I'm really looking for is one of these league against non-league games where the league team are at home and it can just get out of hand if there's early goals. And the game I've plumped for is the Friday night one between Harrogate and Gainsborough Trinity. On the Harrogate side, the last 6 games have produced more total output for both sides than in any other team this season, any other team in the league in the last 6 games. So they are a high output team at the moment at both ends, Harrogate and Gainsborough. Now, I'm not going to come on this pod and tell you I know much about Gainsborough Trinity, as I think you all know that I don't. However, just looking through their matches, the first round of the FA Cup, they drew 4-4 at Hensford. I think they came back from 4-1 down or something to draw 4-4 and then win on penalties. In the FA Trophy the other day, they've scored 4 at Clitheroe. In the 4th qualifying round, they had a 2-2 draw and won the replay 4-0. They're not short of goals, these boys. So, Harrogate can be a bit leaky as well with their goals and are scoring plenty themselves. So I think I found something that ticks the boxes with a game that, you've got a 4-11 favourite. You've got a sort of high goal line. You've got 2 teams who are showing that they can score goals or have goals at both ends of their games. And what you want is for these 4.5 and 5.5 lines, you've got to get an early one or an early 2 in, and then it sets it all up. So if we can get an early goal here on Friday night, hopefully you get a 3-2, 4-3, something like that. Entirely possible in this game, I think.
What's fun is if you are right and yours cop on Friday night, there's going to be quite a long wait for punters to see if we can do it again, because my game kicks off at 2 o'clock on Sunday. And it fits quite a similar bill. It's Burton Albion against Tamworth, a league side at home, up against a non-league side where we've seen loads of goals in their games recently. If you look at Tamworth's recent results, You've got a 4-2 home win against Macclesfield in the FA Cup last round qualifying. You have a 3-2 win against Woking in the National League, a 3-2 defeat against Halifax in the National League. Even a week or so ago in a trophy, a cup I didn't even really know existed, they lost 5-1 against the Sunderland under 21 side. So another team where we're seeing loads of goals in their games, up against a Burton Albion side who just need to win games of football, basically. There's no way, I don't think Burton don't take this seriously. I think for the new ownership group at Burton, and given their search for a new manager, I think losing at home to non-league opposition would be an absolute disaster. I cannot see them not taking this seriously. From a PR perspective, from what they're trying to do at the club, this is a really important game for them to win, to kind of keep morale from really diving. They're a team that we know brought in a lot of players in the summer. They're a team who we know want to play a certain way. They are sticking to their beliefs in terms of not being a kind of direct route one side. They want to play attacking football. They want to entertain. And this fits the bill to me, where you've got two teams, Tamworth are going to come believing they can cause an upset, and you've got a Burton side who are going to want to show them or want to send out a message that they're able to send a message effectively, especially with Tom Hansel, their caretaker manager, still in charge, who maybe will want to lay a claim to getting the job full time. They've won a game in the league now, so the monkey's off their back in that respect. Wouldn't be a surprise to me at all if this is a high-scoring affair. The guys at AK are still getting the double prices sorted for this. I mean, currently the over 4.5 is 9-2 for Harrogate Gainsborough and 15-4 for Burton Tamworth, and the over 5.5 is 9-1 in the Harrogate game and 8-1 in the Burton Tamworth game. So we're going to get some big old prices for the doubles. You'll find those if you go on the AK Bet site and you go to football. And you go to Not the Top 20 podcast specials, you'll find the Tanganga goal scorer price there, but you'll also find the goals bets up there too. So make sure you check those out. Goff, I'm not going to put you on the spot, so I'll read out your selections for you. Your nap was Norwich at 23-20 to beat Luton. Walsall, draw no bet against Charlton. Your next best, Stevenage to win 1-0 at home to Mansfield, 7-1. Your long shot, Matt Clark at 15-2 anytime, your goal scorer pick. For me, it was Fleetwood at 21-20 with AK Bets to beat Colchester as my nap. Millwall to beat Oxford at 6-5. My next best, 18-1 Jaffet Tanganga to score anytime is my goal scorer. And my long shot, Sheffield United to beat Sunderland 1-0, and then Sunderland's unbeaten run at 11-2, and then Harrogate Gainsborough and Burton Tamworth making up the over 4.5 and over 5.5 doubles. Thanks, Goffy.
Problem, enjoyed it.
Goffy will be back with us next week as Ali enjoys his paternity leave after his new arrival. Thank you very much again to AK Bets for their sponsorship of the show. As I say, if you haven't got an account, you really should get one if you're listening to the show and you're betting our selections, because they are looking after you guys. They're looking after the listeners in terms of ensuring that they are getting the prices out as big as they can go to make it viable. And therefore, any winners we do put up. And also, normally Ali tells me and congratulates me or tells me off for my losers. But last week I did manage to put up a long shot winner in Walsall, winning to 0. So hopefully we can repeat the trick this time with a couple of winners there. But yeah, make sure you sign up for AK Bets. Enjoy the weekend's football. Ali would say he hopes you have a terrible weekend, but I think with everyone bathing in the glory of FA Cup second round weekend, hopefully you have a great weekend. And we're back again next week. Please ensure that you're gambling responsibly and go well.